really good, really good. That was quite intense, but actually wonderful. Probably one of the most, delightful experiences I think I've ever had, but also full of sadness and joy in equal measure. Yeah, so I took the full dose, and then about half an hour in, I took a top up. And I almost had a complete denial of my own body whilst I had my mask on. So I got the eye mask on, I got myself nice and comfortable. Didn't quite reach the point at which I had completely and utterly denied the whole physical self, but I was almost there. And that kind of flight of total and utter disembodied flight inside my own mind and in my eye mask was almost about to happen. I think maybe to do with the dosage, probably more to do with the fact that you are immediately trying to completely shrug off all of the stuff that encumbers you on the day-to-day. So all of the business, the phone, the obstacles to relaxation, the emails, etc. All that stuff was, kind of in my path, complete and utter relaxation and release. And then I kind of just forgave myself for being that uptight and just kind of had a really nice time. Had a lovely time of just all the rest of it, just all the sensations. The music that Kun was playing was incredible. So there was a wonderful piece of music, which was a dirge, symphony of sorrowful songs. That took me to some interesting places. So yeah, amongst all the things I was doing, was thinking about my family, my connections to my family, and at the same time also connection to the universe. So there were multiple things happening, and those were sometimes in tune with the music, which was delightful. Having the Symphony of Soulful Songs was wonderful. And then there were other points at which the music was just almost, just sort of very, very delicate sort of cello music, which just became a note and then sort of became an energy. And it was just about the energy in the universe. That was quite profound. And also just looking at myself, I'll tell you what, this was a really, really interesting one. At some point, I found myself, trying to put this into words, I found myself being cared for by my mum, so she was tucking me into bed. She was tucking me into bed and caring for me, and the love that my mum had for me then was quite profound. And then of course that then was me as a child, my brother as a child, my other brother as a child. And I connected really heavily with that, and then felt the loss of my brother through my mum, which was one of the most profound things that I've ever felt in my life, and brought me to tears. And then immediately after that, the sensation of that loss was taken over by the sensation of incredible joy of being able to actually have had that sensation. So there was layers of things going on throughout the experience. And then that subsided, and then I would go into listening to the music, which then took me to, again, a place of wonderful melancholy with the odd touch of lightness coming out of it. So it was beautiful to kind of have those feelings and emotions, and at the same time be able to kind of be moved in and around those emotions. That was quite intense. And I saw these things. I saw these things in my mind's eye with my mask on, and I was there. And I was my mum. That was unexpected. And as we then progressed through, I found myself looking up at what was only to be described as a sort of tree, the central power of the universe, which was quite intense. And every human that had ever been was tendrils of this plant. And those flowers and petals were existing humans, and those that were dying, and they could see some of these petals dropping off. Yeah, that was intense as well. And of course the sorrow that came from these tiny petals falling off and dying was was again completely and utterly transplanted in a moment by the absolute joy of being able to witness something as powerful as a connection to the universe. That's what the mushrooms did. Superb. A real direct connection with the universe. And then of course you open your eyes and things are moving around and you feel that everything that you can see with your eyes is very fluid and visual, and it feels ephemeral and not really there. So then of course back in with my arm mask on, got myself nicely kind of comfortable again and tucked in for a bit more. Yeah, and some of the things that I'd had certain trepidation about, fear of, the paranoid episodes that didn't even enter the equation. So there's a mixture of, direct connection to the universe with the unparalleled joy and emotion of witnessing that connection, mixed in with lots of kind of tiny moments of sadness and joy. So it was layered, multiple layers. Yeah, it's fantastic. I'd do it again in an instant. I'd do it again right now.
Well, I think there's some more in the fridge. I'm not sure if that's recommended by wonderful leaders. Man, almost brought me to tears then. Just this idea of...
Dave, it was intense.
What you were saying about experiencing the loss of your brother through your mum's point of view, that sounds incredibly sort of helpful for you.
It was wonderful. I felt the loss of my brother through I was my mum and felt the loss of that. I could see the moment when she was tucking us into bed as kids, and then as it came to the future, there was one missing. Fucking hell. Fucking profound. Unbelievable. To feel that through my mum's eyes. And that was actually more powerful than the loss I felt myself when my brother died. Whew. Unbelievable. But to be able to witness that then gave me an enormous amount of joy that I'd been able to actually have that sensation and emotion. It gave me the most unparalleled feeling of elation, which is when I then woke up, came round and saw Kuhn and Anne looking at me in this blissful moment. It was wonderful, wonderful. So yeah, that was a roller coaster. And the intensity of that was also met by several other moments, which were sometimes brought about by the music, which were very hard to put into words. And I don't think I could recollect them, but the emotions that I'd the points at which I'd achieved and got through and moved through were just profound and wonderful. And I would absolutely do it again right now. Superb.
It sounds like just a really...
It was wonderful.
Useful.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Wonderful. To mourn a loss. I mean, it's slightly strange. I wasn't expecting that. To mourn the loss of my brother through my mum was not what I was expecting. But again, very useful because I was able to mourn. Whereas when my brother died, the moments when I sort of left him, because I don't know, the sort of tricky relationship I had with my brother didn't enable me to completely and utterly identify with the loss, because I'd lost him 1,000 times over the years. Fuck.
Nice deep breaths.
Yeah.
Man, it's incredible to hear all this. Tell us a little bit about the tree that and what it looked like. Like
if you can imagine,
try to build your tree.
Okay.
Yeah, to try to describe. I know it's really hard to describe in the real world, but.
Well, yeah, it was like I mean, if you just look up in any day and look up to the heavens, imagine this kind of beautiful kind of tower that just disappeared upwards, and that was the focus of energy of all creation. It was just upwards. And every tiny part that came down, and it's beautiful, kind of very filled with light, lots of these tendrils coming off, you know, and kind of each petal, it's like a tree, was a human, or a human soul. They weren't actually humans dangling on the end of leaves, but it was a sensation of those human souls.
Did it look like a tree, but
it was just a sort of beautiful thing came down, and it wasn't just branches all over the place, but as it came down to the side of me, there were these kind of like, you know, you could see almost cascading off like a mountain, you know, kind of just these lovely, lovely tendrils, and each one was a little human soul. And some of them were having a whale of a time, some of them really weren't. That was very profound. And to be actually, that was quite overwhelming. And then really to feel the connectedness of the fact that I was one of those tendrils, I was one of those branches, and everybody else was connected, then was quite profound, because it then brought me on a sense of overwhelming love, because we're all one. We're all from the same thing. And that then was so overwhelming, the feeling of continued love through all humans that have ever been and are ever going to be. And the fact that so much of that is just completely and utterly missed. It was the access to that was a moment again of realization. You go, okay, here we are again. This is all that matters. Everything else is just, you know, incidental. But what we are definitely missing is the love. That powerful binding love force was overwhelming. It was literally made me cry again. Quite a lot of tears, because it was so powerful. That was great. That was really good.
You were saying, oh yeah, what you were saying about, let's just do one more bit. What you were saying about forgiving yourself for having all the phones and all of that sounded really useful.
That was
as well.
Very useful.
Could you just explain it to me again, because I think I got what you were saying.
Well,
would like you to
so there was
sort of doing yourself a favour. And
it reminds me, a lot of the time there was sort of like tripping in when I was young, you know, kind of like complete mind flight. I mean, absolutely, completely out of body experience. And when the dose first came in, I could feel the sensation of the visuals, and I put my air mask on. I was like ready for flight. And then I got to the point where I almost completely forgot my body and was ready to kind of fly around in the universe, but then kind of faltered a bit, didn't quite get there, you know, didn't quite happen. And I felt like I was missing something, and then I kind of thought, you know what, it's all right. You know, it's okay to not go with that. Let's go with everything else. And sort of said, definitely forgave myself. I was like, okay, it's all right, you know, just let's have a really nice time with everything else that's going on. And that was very rewarding. That was very good. I needed to hear that for myself, and then just got into the idea of whatever else happened, which was lovely. Again, the roller coaster happened there.
And what did you mean about all the kind of text messages and the emails and
in a way, I'm guessing there was just a barrier, you know, and the kind of it's so difficult to go from your normal everyday world where there's so much going on, you know, you're supposed to be somewhere who's not delivered, there's a parcel coming, whatever it might be, all of these things that are crashing and bombarding you all the time, to then suddenly just completely cut those off and go on a mind flight of complete self-abandonment. And because I wasn't able to do that, I felt like I'd missed a little bit at the start of the trip. And then I just went, it's all right, you know, you kind of got this baggage, you know, you're not going to shrug it off straight away. Let's just go with the flow. And that was really lovely. And hence why I'd like to do it again with a stronger dose and really kind of really kick back, see what happens next time. But the fact that I did actually let myself just be content with what was happening in the now was just lovely. That's where it all started to happen. And the flowers came, and the joy and the pain came. That was excellent.
All right, let's cut it down. Man, this is amazing.